Jeff Ducklow is no stranger to adventure. Born without a sense of direction, made worse in a childhood mishap after a friend's uncle accidentally dropped him on his head, damaging his already damaged inner compass, Jeff Ducklow naturally chose to become a professional adventure guide, guiding men, women, and children oblivious to his affliction on hikes over mountain passes, rafting down raging rivers, and leading sea kayaking adventures in Alaska in whale-infested waters, at times in heavy fog. Jeff Ducklow is often quoted as saying, "Is it really an adventure if getting back is a certainty?" Having almost died unnecessarily on numerous occasions, Jeff is now a full-time massage therapist in Missoula who rides his unicycle to work in order to keep an element of danger in his day. He still loves the outdoors and enjoys recounting his exploits to anyone who will listen. Please welcome Jeff Ducklow.
I was in a band, I know how to do this. But I lack the strength. Oh, that's good. That was pretty much my story anyway, thanks. Thank you very much. So not every Alaskan vacation is all it's cracked up to be. And some Alaskan vacations are way more than they should have been. Which was the case about 4 years ago when for the first time I went to the Hawaiian island of Kauai. I do love adventure, and I did the normal touristy things of laying on the beach, playing in the surf, having a mojito or two, and having grown a little bored with those things, I wanted to kick up the adventure level. So I found a Hawaiian guy who was standing on the beach, and I said, if you only had 3 days left in beautiful Kauai, what would you do? And really without hesitation, he said, "Lost trail, man." I said, that sounds really hard to find. He said, "No problem, I'll draw you a little map." And he sketched out a map, a bunch of dirt roads with no names, where I'd come to a small footbridge and a small break in the jungle, which marked the beginning of the trail. No sign. So I should have known at that point that was very bad advice, but I was pretty excited about the adventure. The next morning, or afternoon actually, about 3 o'clock, I started the journey in my rental car. And pretty miraculously, I'd say, I found a little break in the jungle after about an hour and a half of driving. And I thought, this must be the trailhead, because I don't see anything else, and it's getting late. So I threw a few things in my backpack and took off at a very quick pace. About 2 miles in, I came to an opening in what's called Waimea Canyon. It's 3,000 feet deep, it's 10 miles long, and it's just spectacular. I'm taking pictures, there's waterfalls in the distance, the lava over time has turned red, and I thought, this is amazing. And that should have been enough. But I wanted more. So I looked at the map, and you know when you start doing this, you probably should go back, but I went forward, and the trail, after about another mile, it branched off, and there was no branch markings on this trail. So I stood in confusion looking down either one, and I remembered Robert Frost's poem about standing at the crossroads where two roads diverged in the yellow wood, And I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. And it really did. It greatly impacted my life. I decided I would take the trail most traveled by, thinking that's probably it. And so I went pretty happily. It's now maybe an hour before sunset. I have a good 4 miles left according to his map, but it's a loop, so I should come back at the same place. So the trail starts to fade, and it fades so much I don't even know if I'm on a trail. And I end up on this really steep, maybe 1,500 foot rock slide area. And I'm so nervous about the darkness coming that I keep going across it very tenderly, and then realize this is crazy. And I look back, and there's no way I was going back what I just accomplished. It was too scary. So I decide to go up. I'm clinging to the hill. And I finally get up to the top. There's a little clearing, and I see that's where the jungle begins up there. And then I see these small yellow tape markings hanging from the trees, and I said, Eureka, it's a trail marker. So I went into the jungle, and I went for about 15, 20 minutes and started looking around and noticed there were yellow things hanging everywhere, like Christmas ornaments, and realized these were not trail markings. And then I went downhill, uphill, downhill. Next thing I knew, it was completely dark. It was over. I was in the jungle at night. I was pretty nervous because I'd heard a lot of stories about wild boar with the tucks that could tear a man in two in seconds. And they ran feral all over the island. So I considered my assets. I had an empty Nalgene bottle, which I started to fill with my urine. I'd read that somewhere, that you can recycle. So I added some liquid to the Nalgene, and then remembered I also had a cell phone. Of course, there's coverage in the jungle. I turn it on, not shockingly, no coverage. But in the darkness, I just started crawling around desperately, trying to find a place. And after about a half hour, I found a 1 inch by 1 inch parcel that had one bar. It was another miracle. So instead of calling 911, I called my girlfriend at the time. And I told her, look, I started off on this trail. I'm not sure even where the trailhead is. I'm not sure where the trail is. I'm not sure how to get back to it. I think I'm spending the night here in the jungle. And then she said, if you're happy with this message, press 1. I said, okay. I later heard this message I left and realized I was pretty impressed because my tone of voice sounded like I was at the mall and I'd be back just a little late for dinner. So there I was in the night, just fearful of the wild boar. And sure enough, after about 4 hours, branches are starting to snap, and I hear something barreling down the hill towards me, and my heart explodes, and I stand up with a burst of adrenaline, and by the beard of Zeus, I got about 9 feet up in a tree. For about 10 seconds before the branch broke. I was back on the canopy floor, but still filled with adrenaline. I found another branch about as high, and I sat there for several hours, not wanting any boar contact. Eventually, my ass got so sore, I didn't care about getting bored. I sat down on the ground, and at that point, a cold, cold fog came in. And the temperature must have dropped 20 degrees. But I remembered the emergency poncho I had thrown in, whose thickness could be measured in terms of atoms. But I went ahead and I wrapped myself in that poncho, and I started shuddering, shivering, and I thought for sure hypothermia was going to take me down. But amazingly, I lived to sunrise. And it was the most beautiful sunrise I'd ever seen. And so this time, a little wiser, I called 911. my battery warning started flashing, which with this old phone, 2012, meant it could crash at any moment. So I call 911, I get put on hold. And I'm on hold for a minute, then a minute and a half, and I'm watching it flash, going, this is it. And I get the captain of the fire department. And at this point, he says, where are you? I said, Lost Trail. I never heard of it. I said, you never heard of it? He goes, no, I've never heard of Lost Trail. I said, I'm not sure what to tell you. It's somewhere in the canyon. He goes, okay, we're going to get a GPS coordinate on you. Don't go anywhere. And I said, don't worry about that. I can walk out of here. I got plenty of daylight. He goes, no. Don't go anywhere. Stay right where you are. You get lost. The jungle, it all looks the same. What you should know in my mind is I grew up with a mom who equated personal injury with the cost of medical care. For example, one time when I fell off my bicycle with a big gash in my leg, I came in the house. First thing she said in compassion was, oh, shit. And then, I'm not sure if this is a rhetorical question, do you know how much that's going to cost? I'm not sure. I'm 8 years old. I'm bleeding profusely. I'm not sure I'm capable of that calculation right now. All right, get my sewing kit. Oh, please, Ma, no. I can see my femur. All right, get in the car. I guess I'll take you to the hospital. There goes your allowance. So, yeah, that's how I grew up. So I did not want to incur this expense of being rescued, because I'd heard rescuing could be thousands of dollars. He says, I'm going to send a helicopter. I said, oh, no, not necessary. Not necessary. He says, no, that's what's going to happen, and stay still. Turn your phone off if it's about to die. We'll call you in 20 minutes. So I turn my phone off. 20 minutes come, I hear a helicopter, but they're on the wrong side of the canyon. And so I get back on the phone. I said, you guys are on the wrong side. He said, is there any break in the foliage? I said, no, there's no break. It's just trees. I said, but come to the other side. So they came to the other side and said, we can't see you. And then I remembered the old tattered yellow poncho. I took it out of the backpack and just started swinging it. And sure enough, they spotted it. And then my phone died. It was over. And then the helicopter took off. I didn't know what happened. I sat there in fear for another half hour. The helicopter came back. A guy breaks through the canopy on a wire. Incredible sound. And there's leaves blowing everywhere, scorpions and centipedes. And he hooked me into a harness. And so we're like face to face. We break up through the canopy. And it's amazing. And I think we're going into the helicopter, but the retraction stops. And we're just swinging below the helicopter. And as we go over the canyon, I say to myself, if this is $10,000, it's worth every penny. So I get the ride of my life until we came to a clearing where the rest of the fire crew rescuers were waiting. And then came the descent of shame. From the heavens, I was lowered down. Not a lot of words were spoken. I apologized and thanked them. And as we got in the fire truck down these dirt roads, they said, we're going to take you to your car. I said, thank you. And as we drove, I was fearing they'd ask the question. And sure enough, they did. So, what do you do for a living? Now, I knew I could tell them that there's two truths. One is I actually was a massage therapist, and I also was an adventure guide. The year was divided in half. But I thought about all they had done for me, and I thought I owed them something. So I said, I'm a professional adventure guide. And the guy driving, the captain said, Are you kidding me? I said, I wish I was. The crew was laughing. He gets on the CB radio, and he says, you guys won't believe this. The guy we rescued, he's an adventure guide. And so I was. Thank you.